Yes. By the way, we are trying to make AI like a, not sure a virtual teacher in virtual world now with our AI technologies. Then that's the reason why I'm very interested in AI tutor.
I think what I will show you today and
Hmm?
explain to you today, and more than that, it is a draft. It is not a ready application, but it has every step developed already. And I offer this draft to you for free. I will explain why I do it later at the end of presentation. And
Hmm.
I think it would be very interesting for you. Do you know what is English proficiency in Japan? I understand that you are from Japan, right?
Yeah.
And what is English proficiency in Japan now? Do you know the number?
But proficiency, what is a proficiency means? Professional
No,
teacher.
proficiency is a special term which is measured by one company for already 17 years annually. And they publish it annually. So every country has its own English proficiency number.
Mm,
Japan is number
I don't-
3 on the list of industrial countries and
mm,
number 80
mm,
on the list of English proficiency. It means
mm.
that Japan is practically the last on that list.
Yes,
And
it's very.
why nobody in Japan, practically very few people, can communicate fluently in English because in Japan, the old system uses conscious learning. It wouldn't work.
Mm.
It's just now as
And
introduction. Now let me explain how my artificial intelligence web application tutor, in short,
interesting.
we'll use the word iBot,
Hmm.
works. First of all, it's the first application that allows learning any foreign language. It
Mm.
sounds impossible, but I will demonstrate you how it could be done. What is extremely interesting that this application comes with 0 lessons and
Hmm.
with option to create unlimited number of lessons in any language which you
Hmm.
want to learn and will provide also support in any native language. This is possible because my IBAT uses is the future dream which we together may make and bring as a commercial product. It uses 3 inventions together. Personalized lessons could be created by any generative artificial intelligence, and they can be created for any level of English or any other foreign language.
Mm.
And they could be also created with support in any native language.
Mhm.
We use in this application subconscious training. What is the difference between conscious training and subconscious training? I will explain you briefly. In conscious learning, you try to memorize
Mhm.
vocabulary, grammar, sentences, etc. Is it possible to memorize? No,
Yeah.
it is
No.
not possible. Conscious learning, and what is actually it's a tragedy in language industry because we know 30 methods of learning English. All 30 methods, all of them, there are no exclusion, belong to conscious learning.
Mm.
If I ask you how much you will remember in about 30 days what I will explain you today. Tell me how much you will remember.
Mm. So now I'm taking a memo. So, but 3 days later, I start to forget, step by
Yes,
step.
and in after 30 days, you remember less than 10% if you are
Mm.
lucky. So
Yeah.
there's no sense to learn consciously because you are doomed to forget.
No.
More than that, native children, they speak without accent, they speak in any language because they learn it subconsciously. They do not learn it consciously. What is
Hmm.
the difference? How do you know when uh, you use conscious learning or subconscious training? I have invented this method. I patented it, and later I give you the link to all my articles, books, ebooks, applications, and patent, and you will see the difference. If you perform one or two actions, that is, you are reading and listening, you are
Hmm.
speaking, you are writing. Everything belongs to conscious learning.
Mm.
Speaking is also conscious learning. So if
Mm.
you think that speaking consciously with a native speaker, you will acquire language, no way, it's conscious. Subconscious mind is super powerful. It has unlimited capacity to remember, record,
Mm.
and it has direct link to store anything forever. You never forget anything in your subconscious.
Mm.
But how to activate subconscious mind? I have discovered it by pure chance and I patented it. I have 2 patents in the United
Mhm.
States on method of subconscious training. I discovered it by chance because I am a scientist and I also work as simultaneous interpreter. And
Mhm.
when you do 3 actions at the same time, you are reading the text, listening to the recording of the text, and speaking at the same time. You perform 3 actions at the same time. Your
Mm.
subconscious activates automatically.
Mm. Really.
And in this case, your ingrained habit of thinking in English is turned off automatically. You cannot think in Japanese if you do 3 actions at the same time.
Mm.
That's why subconscious training could and should be implemented in this application. It's a must. The
Mm.
third revolution which I use in this IVAT application is self-learning. Self-learning, we know this word, it may be not very clear because many of us use self-learning to learn something new, but we must understand that there is a new paradigm of self-learning which is different to learning today. If you ask anybody what learning means, they will tell you that it is transfer knowledge from teacher to student, and it is
Mhm.
not possible. First of all, knowledge nowadays is free. And we all have access to knowledge. So if you will do it as a self-learning, you will have application for self-learning. You would be much more effective. You can use it anytime, and
Mm.
your artificial intelligence-based application knows much more than any tutor in the world. It can
Mm.
give and provide answer to any question. So using those 3 revolutions together, bringing them together, will help us to develop fluency in English and pronunciation and vocabulary and grammar.
Mm.
I what creates personalized lessons in any combination of native target languages. It uses patented subconscious training, as I explained to you, and a guided self-training of all foreign languages skills simultaneously. So you do not learn pronunciation or reading or listening or vocabulary or grammar separately. It's nonsense. It's not possible. You are doomed to forget. But when you do it subconsciously, all those skills are acquired automatically. You understand it?
Yes.
If we use subconscious training, it's interesting that it is a whole system. I have two ebooks you can read later, and if you are interested to go into details. But what is interesting that each provides completely different, non-trivial answers to trivial questions. For example, if I ask, does my fluency depend on how many words I know? My answer is no, it does not depend on your vocabulary. So learning vocabulary is nonsense.
Mm.
Does my fluency depend on my knowledge of grammar? No. Learning
Mm.
grammar is actually a key to failure. Why? Because there are two different types of grammar. Formal grammar with rules which you try to learn, remember, you read about them in your native language, you try to memorize them and consciously process. Our consciousness is very, very slow. You cannot remember rules. And by the way, native speakers have no idea about grammar. They use a completely different grammar, which is called intuitive grammar, which is acquired subconsciously.
Mm.
Does my fluency depend on my pronunciation? It's a question to you, to your current
No.
application. And unfortunately, the answer is without any doubt, the answer is no. Pronunciation has no impact on fluency whatsoever. Absolutely not. And by the way, I am not the only one. And later I can send you a link to a study made by Purdue University. And they have published a huge study showing that fluency is the main criterion for intelligibility, and pronunciation has nothing to do with it.
Mm.
Do we need to practice with only native speakers? Many in your country, in China especially, in other countries, believe that you have to. And I tell you, no, no, no. Native or
Mm.
non-native speakers has no meaning at all because you work subconsciously and you work on recorded text, and the pronunciation or accent of your teacher has no meaning at all. Besides, you do mostly self-learning. You need coaches, guides who will understand and who will have the knowledge which I explain to you now, and they will help them on every step of this new shift to subconscious training using iWhat. They need coaches, and those coaches would be much more successful because they should not prepare lesson plans, they should not prepare lessons, they should not give corrective feedback. The most dangerous part is when teachers give corrective feedback. And you could not find a teacher who would agree with me because they do not know anything about subconscious training. When you provide corrective feedback and you think that corrective feedback in anything like pronunciation, you think that a learner has a filter to remember right and to forget the
Mm.
wrong pronunciation. He doesn't have filters. More than that, if you correct him, he will not remember. But by the way, as I have written in today's post, pronunciation is a matter of subconscious processing. You cannot consciously process or create sounds, because in creating sounds 100 muscles in your face participate, and they could be controlled only subconsciously. Yeah, so you cannot use old systems, old methods. Now let's go to the next slide. We discussed partially what is conscious versus subconscious, and you uh, understand that subconscious is the training is the only way to go, and that's the way you have learned used as a child. Why you think that as adult learning a foreign language you have to use a different system? It's wrong. Use the same system. The problem, why it was not used before. By the way, linguist Stefan Krashen talked about acquisition 50 years ago, and he said that it should be subconscious. The problem is that at that time we did not have tools which are needed to this. Remember one thing which may sound quite contradictory. No teacher can introduce subconscious training. Do you know why? Because
Mm,
to activate your subconscious mind, you need to have text, you need to have recording, and you need to have ability to speak at the same time, which means that without application, it's absolutely impossible. So application is the main tool. Coaches will guide you, explain everything what I explained to you now, so that they will change perceptions and understanding of adults and guide them to efficient fluency in less than a year. But you must understand the difference. ChatGPT on its own is not sufficient for effective language learning. Why? There are many educators now. Actually, on internet you may find that articles on ChatGPT appears thousands every day. And thousands of educators say that it will disrupt education, especially in learning languages. And this statement is absolutely wrong. Why? Because ChatGPT is our first main component. By in itself, it cannot introduce subconscious training because it requires a number of specially designed drills, which I will demonstrate to you in a minute, to activate subconscious training. First of all, it doesn't have repetition. Secondly, it doesn't have option to easily provide support in the native language if you don't know it. Secondly, it does not give you an option to change pronunciation of the recording to make it slowly for beginners and faster for intermediate learners, etc. In a short, ChatGPT, despite some statements that it can be used for learning languages, it cannot. It is the necessary mandatory part of any application for learning languages, but it's not possible to use only ChatGPT and acquire fluency. You understand why, right?
mm, yeah.
Subconscious training eliminates forgetting and cross-translation. We are doomed to forget, we've discussed it, but when you use subconscious training, so you actually delegate this no new process to acquire patterns, language uh, patterns in a new language to your subconscious, and it does it perfectly without forgetting anything and without translating it to the native language. Cross translation is stopped automatically. IWAT enables automatic communication due to super fast recall. If you will compare conscious recall, you understand that it is very, very slow, because if you try to remember something like this, it takes seconds. You cannot
Mm.
remember easily, right?
Yeah.
But to speak fluently, you have to produce more than 2 words per second. How can you
Mm.
do it? Only in automatic mode, subconscious mode. Is an active process.
Mm.
Individuals learn quickly, think critically, and make wise decisions. Self-direction and personalization create meaning and motivation. When you start learning using Kaiwat and you have access to it anytime, anywhere, then you understand that self-learning is the most efficient process. But you will need a guide, a coach. On your own, you cannot come to all those non-trivial conclusions which I have demonstrated to you. Now, let's consider personalized lessons. Uh, you should understand that we are not talking about creating something in artificial intelligence. No. That's why creating Kaiwat will require a very low investment with extremely high return on investment, because we use API plugin.
Mm.
And our application with API will allow us to put any query. For example, create a lesson in English in 500 words about artificial intelligence for a 5th grade student. Provide a translation into Russian or German or Japanese or whatever. So you understand that this lesson, the or any lesson, could be created for any level. You can create it for the 1st grade student. You can create it on any topic which will interest you. And you understand now that learning vocabulary is nonsense. We learn, acquire language from simple phrases. By reading, listening, and repeating and doing simultaneously, we develop a muscle. Language is a muscle, and we develop it. iWhat opens a personalized lesson with the read aloud function and controlled speech rate. You see here a lesson which was created according to that query about artificial intelligence.
Mm.
If I click on this button,
Artificial intelligence, or AI,
Playing from Arcades S22.
computers and machines can do tasks that usually require human intelligence.
do you hear this sound? You hear
Yeah.
this sound?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so I will continue and I will show you our actions. I have to read,
Mm.
listen, and repeat at the same time. you can try to do the same thing.
Okay. This includes
things like understanding language, recognizing patterns, and making decisions.
One
One
example
example
of
of AI you might have seen is Siri on iPhone or Alexa on an Amazon Echo. These virtual assistants use AI to understand what you are saying and respond to your questions. They can tell you the weather, play music, or set reminders.
Another example of
And the whole lesson is unlimited, so you understand how it works. And you understand that I can repeat it many times as I want. You understand that if you do not know something and you highlight this word technology or traffic or whatever, the translation will appear in this IWAT into your native language. You can do unlimited number of such lessons. So that is the main component is using artificial intelligence API to create lessons, but then you use subconscious training according to my patent. And you use self-learning as a new paradigm of learning. There are 6 drills, very important 6 drills, which are necessary to create, but keep in mind that it's very easy to create those drills because they are well known. And look, the first, listen to the recording in the native language with your eyes closed. You will listen to a lesson which you have created, unlimited number of lessons, but you start with 1 lesson. And first, you can listen to the recording in Japanese or in Russian or in any language with closed eyes. Do you have any idea why I recommend in the first drill to close your eyes?
Focusing on listening.
About 60% of our brain energy is used for visualization. When you close your eyes, you have excessive brain power to visualize. And so whatever you read, you will see as if you watch a video. You visualize it. You do not hear, do not remember the words in your native language, but you, as if you watch this video. It's a very interesting drill, according to my patent. Now, the second drill, listen to the recording in the target language, in this case, English language, and follow the text without pronouncing the words. First, you are just listen to the recording and follow the text without pronouncing the words. You develop your listening, you prepare it, and especially for Japanese who have some difficulty in some sounds like L, R, you will prepare your subconscious brain. And here also one very important recommendation. You use always headsets. Never, ever our application is used without headsets, because in this way, your sound goes directly to your hearing, and you process it without analyzing. And especially keep in mind later when you add your own pronunciation, you would not hear your pronunciation. You should not hear it. You should not analyze it. Drill number 3. highlight unknown words, and the whole sentence will be translated into your native language. So if you just check the text and you still find some words unknown to you, highlight one word, but the whole sentence will be translated. Why the whole sentence? Do you have any idea?
We should storing how to say to help to guess the unknown words in terms of whole sentence.
Exactly. Because in
Oh.
this case, it's so-called contextual translation. You have only one translation of the word. Usually, in all the world, which uses electronic dictionary for ages, will give you translation of the word as the word table. If you translate the word table into any other language, you will receive 25 translations. It's nonsense. You cannot remember them, and it's useless to look into the translation. It should be only one visual contextual translation. So those are 3 drills, and now let's consider the other 6 drills. Drill 4, the most important. Read the text, listen to the reading software, and speak simultaneously. You understand, it's the main drill. I demonstrated it to you on that artificial intelligence lesson, and it is, by the way, only drill number 4. That also explain. I want to remind you why I said that ChatGPT cannot be used for learning languages, because it has no option to implement any drills. Drill number 5. Click the record button and read aloud the text without listening to the reader. So when you have done 10, 15, 20, it's, every student have different language actually capability. But after a certain amount of repetitions, and they are not very tiresome, because you have created your lesson, and because you do 3 actions at the same time, and because you are consciously not aware that you are learning, you are training. It's the same as like going to gym and training. There you train your language muscle, so it's not difficult to do it many times. And when you can do it easily without omitting words, click the record button and read aloud the text without listening to reader. And develop fluency and measure it quantitatively by flow speech fluency testing. And here is something very unusual, and which requires special explanation. By the way, your access to voice recognition and your expertise in that is absolutely needed and required, but for a different purpose. And I will tell you where we can use it, and without that, we actually cannot succeed. So your previous experience is very useful, but we have to use it differently. When you have recorded in drill 5 your whole lesson, or when we use in drill 6, we have to develop a special tool. By the way, I have this program as a separate module. I can share it with you if we decide to go together in creating IWAT. And what this module does, It is so-called flow speech fluency testing. This module has button L, lesson, and button V, vocabulary. It measures speech rate in words per minute. How it works? When I click on this button, and on this button record, and this button starts this module, the word appear on the screen, and you have to say anything from your experience that will show your knowledge of the word. It is not translation, it's not explanation. For example, breakfast. Now, I usually have a very light breakfast. I understand that breakfast should be very light because the main input of food should be during your dinner. My breakfast is usually a cup of coffee and maybe an egg and not much more. Then you click next and next word appears and you say another story, another story, another story. You say about 30 words. You have to create stories. After that recording is processed by your software, voice recognition. But instead of giving feedback on your pronunciation, you give feedback of only one criteria. How many words you have said per minute. It's the most important criteria. By the way, do you know that to pass English proficiency tests, every learner must produce 156 words per minute? If you produce less, you cannot pass the exam. So measuring fluency, and by the way, this drill also develops automatic capability to produce sentences, because you create something you do not recall, you do not remember, you do not try to consciously remember anything. You see the word, remember something from your experience, and say it. Say in a few words, in a few sentences, sorry. Your software applied here will give fluency in words per minute, and it is indispensable feedback to learner, because he will know I have started, and of course my words per minute at the beginning is only 40 words per minute, and I understand that I have to work to develop it, but now I know how. And after a few lessons, it starts growing, and you will see how it grows. This implicit feedback on your fluency, that's what is needed. Not pronunciation. Absolutely not. I think it's obvious now. When you hear this, it's absolutely obvious. Your skills, your software, your experience should be used for a different purpose, to help to develop language muscle. A language muscle will bring you fluency. We have discussed how IY works, and I want to give you a few new definitions. No, language learning occurs when known symbols of the language of thoughts are wired directly to new words of a target language. Make one step back. Please answer me quickly the question, in which language do you think?
Which language? English?
No, you cannot think in English, because to think in English, you have to speak with more than or 156 words to create to be fluent. If you are fluent, you may think in English, but we are talking about an average learner. He cannot think in English because he thinks every learner, adults who starts learning a foreign language, thinks that he thinks in his native language, and that is an inaccurate statement. I have discovered and explained it in hundreds, about 100 my articles, to books, patents, that nobody thinks in his native language. It's not possible. All people, irrespective of how many languages they speak fluently, think in the same language of thoughts. By the way, MIT professor Steve Pinker in his book has described it very clearly. The book has 500 pages. I can give you the link to it. But I came to the same conclusion 10 years before his book was published, and I described it in my patent. We do not think in any native language. We think in language of thoughts, which contains symbols, feelings, and they are wired in our brain to our native words. So if you want to express or vocalize our thoughts, we use our native language. That creates illusion that we think in a native language. We cannot. The language of dreams is a direct language of thoughts. In that language, no words exist, only symbols. So if we understand that language learning occurs when known symbols, we all know all symbols in any lesson, to the unknown words in a new target language, that direct wiring is done during subconscious training, and that's changing the purpose and goal of learning a language. That's why it explains why conscious learning is not possible, because you cannot stop cross translation. And it's a very slow process. Thinking in native language and then quickly translate, or thinking as a structure of a sentence, etc., it's not possible. Fluency determines intelligibility and the ability to speak automatically. Very high fluency scores are required to pass English proficiency tests, and that's why our IWAT will help anybody to develop this high fluency score, to pass any proficiency tests, and to continue education in any English-speaking country if they wish. But it will also help them to use English efficiently in their current business. Fluency is independent of pronunciation, grammar knowledge, or vocabulary, and is best acquired through subconscious training. We said it many times, but just it's to repeat again and again. That is the essence of the IWAT. That's why I suggest you that we should create it to change the way the learners learn English, to do it much more efficiently. Corrective feedback should be avoided since it activates conscious learning. Implicit feedback by measuring the fluency score is highly motivating. I have mentioned it to you before. What is interesting that IWAT application could be used for research also. Because API is built into our application, you can use it also for research and type, for example, query. Does Nguru You don't know what is Inguru. In a few words, Inguru is the most well-known application in India. It has 8 million subscribers. Use conscious learning or subconscious teaching English. If you ask this question in my iWatt application, in our iWatt application, if we do it together, you will receive the answer. In Guru uses conscious learning. And just continue and derive your own conclusion that it cannot be very efficient. It is not very efficient because it uses conscious learning. And now you know that it's not efficient. Another research, how many words per minute should you produce to pass English proficiency tests? Ask this question and you would be surprised that for IELTS proficiency test, the requirement is 200 words per minute. It's unbelievable. For TOEIC, it's 150. These numbers are required for a good score on tests. So you should understand what you should do to receive the fluency required for this course, required for using English in your business and continuing education is it. Or ask the question, what is the difference between formal and intuitive grammar? In our iWatt application, you will receive the answer. Intuitive grammar is used by native speakers subconsciously, which explains you do not learn grammar. Grammar is key to failure. Now, I have described to you all main features of iWatt. What I want to add is that I have technical specification of it, detailed technical specification, which I offer for free. If we decide to go together to create such AI web application tutor, you understand the potential of it. I offer free draft, everything what I told you, everything what I know, including my current 2 applications existing now, which are were created before artificial intelligence, but still they demonstrate you some functionality. I offer you free technical support. I offer you free quality assurance support in creating the iWatt application. And why I am doing it? Because I am inventor. I am interested not in selling my invention now, which is extremely difficult because a world needs businessmen like you. You have 3 successful startups. You know how to create business. You have programmers. You have created already a startup. Now, you should not close it or say it's wrong, let's start again from scratch. No, just put it on hold and let's create this iWatt application because every element I already demonstrated to you. It's already known. It could be easily created by 1 or 2 programmers in a matter of a few months. And then we can offer it to learners who first for a very low minimal price. But the more customers we get, the more success we observe, the more successful we'll be. And Nobody can copycat our invention, our application, because it will require licensing to my patent on subconscious training. I offer you free licensing to my subconscious training patent because I am interested in changing how the world learns English. We will make a contract. Of course, I am not a simple crazy man who said that I don't need money. Money, everybody needs money, but it's the last on my list. You, in our contract, you will decide which portion of profit you will share with me, but I assure you upfront that it would be a very low portion of profit, because I believe that this is actually the application which 1.5 billion English learners today are waiting, are needing. They need it today, now, and we can do it. Let's do it. That's, in a nutshell, my proposal to you. Think about it.
Okay,
And
thank you.
if it would be useful if I think that I will create the video, put it on YouTube. You can watch it there. Again, it will refresh some of thoughts and ask questions. I can also send you a number of references, and I have actually a landing page
Mhm.
which will give you links to all my works in one place. And then you decide if you want to discuss our further actions together, then we'll continue discussion. You will let me
Okay,
know.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
What is your first impression of this? I understand that it is too much and maybe stressful
Yeah,
to you.
yeah. So our stance is helping teachers first, and then I have because I'm a student, I have knowledge about how teachers should teach, and the teacher has original method for each teacher. Then what we can do is uh, helping teacher to teach students efficiently and with reducing teachers workload. This is what we can do basically. But yeah, I'm interested in your method also. And so let me think about it.
Okay. Think
Mhm.
about it. Maybe watch
Thank you.
with your team
Mhm.
and then give me your decision. Keep in mind that the purpose of helping teacher is the wrong purpose.
Mhm.
Why? Because teachers cannot teach English. I have explained it to you. Watch it again, you will understand it. What they can do, what they should do, is to guide learners in their self-learning use of iBot and help them on every step.
Mhm.
Because a teacher, if the teacher teaches, it means explains. Explaining means conscious learning.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, conscious learning has very little success rate traditionally, historically, and you cannot change it. You cannot develop a better conscious method of learning. You have to change the method.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
I will
maybe you
discuss.
didn't understand it, so ask questions or see the presentation again.
Okay. I want to discuss with the things with my teammate.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
All the
your
best. Good luck.
yeah. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.